Alrighty, so to get us started, first thing I'm going to do is enter my Google Classroom. I'm going to choose today's assignment for today's class. It's April 6th, day 3. I'm going to click on my assignment and it'll bring up this Google document that has all the directions and all the steps for today in it. So this time we're going to be focused on location and place, and the questions here are designed to help me to answer those things. So first thing it's asking me is what's the name of my country? I know I chose that last week, so I'm going to write it here, Thompslandia, beautiful country. And then it asks me for my country option. So here, what its goal is to make sure that I know which country I chose from this list last week. If you don't remember, you can check the board. Ms. Thompson will have a list of every option there, but I remember mine. I chose option 3. So here I'm going to write option 3. Now, it also asked me for the absolute and relative location of my country. I know the absolute location is its latitude and longitude, and I know the relative location is its location in relation to something else, right? So I tell you where it is based on you knowing where something else is. So I'm going to use this map down here to help me. Now, this map is really small, and zooming in doesn't exactly help for me. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And last time we created a Google Drive folder with our class period and our name. So I'm going to open that folder up. And when I enter into this folder, I see, Ms. Thompson has added a map of Africa here. If you chose other countries, you may see Asia, South America, or Europe. But because I chose country 3, my map of Africa is here. So what I notice here in this map of Africa is I can see the latitude and the longitude lines that go through my country fairly easy now. Now I'm lucky because I have a really easy one at 10 degrees north and 10 degrees east. I know this one is north because if I go from 0, I have to go north to get there. And I know this one is east because if I start at 0, I have to go east to get there. So I'm going to write this one here, 10 degrees north and 10 degrees east. Next up, I'm going to do some estimating because there are no other direct lines that go through my country. So I need to estimate a little bit. So I know that this is 0 and this is 10. So that means that my next line is going to be somewhere in between here, right? So maybe I'll stay on 10 degrees north and maybe I'll stop somewhere between 0 and 10 up here and say right smack dab in the middle. So 5 degrees east. So I'm going to write here 10 degrees north, 5 degrees east. Now I have a third one I need to come up with. So I'm going to go back to this image. And I said 10 before, but I want to get off this line. Let's go down a little bit, maybe to 7. And then we'll say 8 degrees east, right? I'm just estimating anything between that area that I know applies to my country. So what I say, 7 degrees north and 8 degrees east. Now, if you're anything like me, it annoys you that there's no degree symbol here, which is that little circle. You don't have to add this, but if you want to, I'll show you how. So you click Insert, Special Characters, and this thing will pop up here. Now I'm looking for the degree symbol, so I'm just going to type degree into the search bar here. And lots of options pop up. Here's what I'm looking for. See this little degree sign? Click it. And then everywhere I click, I can insert the tiny little degree sign. Like I said, you don't have to add this, but I'm choosing to add it because I'm obsessed. Now, the other thing that I can do is to find my relative location. So that is your location in relation to something else. Remember, that means if you're trying to explain something to somebody and they're having trouble finding it, you would say, oh, it's near this, it's north of this, south of this. That's relative location. So if I look in my Google Drive, I see here's my country here, Thompslandia, and just above it is the country Niger. So I'm going to say that my country is south of Niger. I also know from looking here, oh, look, the Gulf of Guinea, right? So one of the things that I can write here is that my country is, I'm gonna say north of the Gulf of Guinea. Mm, I spelled Gulf wrong, typo. All right, now I need one more because I need 3 relative locations. Uh, I'll keep it simple on this one. Um, I know what region of the world it's in, and that counts as well. So I'm going to say that my country is in West Africa because that is true. So, boom, in West Africa. Now I'm done with part 1 location. Next, I want to scroll down and move to part 2 climate zones. This was really straightforward. We learned about climate zones a really long time ago. And this one is designed so that all I have to do is read a map. So it says, what are the different climate zones in your country? List all that apply. Use your your absolute location to help you. So I know that a good absolute location for me is 10 degrees north, 10 degrees east. So I'm going to go back into my Google Drive folder and notice that Ms. Thompson has put in here for me a climate zone map of the world. So I open this up. And I'm looking for my country because I'm not used to looking at this large map. I'm going to use the absolute location to help me. So I know longitude is 10 degrees north, which is about right here. And I'm going to go all the way over until I get to 10 degrees east. Here's 0. Bam, here's 10 degrees east. Oh, here's my country. Easy peasy. So I noticed from looking at this that my country is mostly pink with a little bit of red and the tiniest bit of orange in 2 little corners here. So mostly pink, little bit of red, tiniest bit of orange. So I go down here to the key. I know that pink is tropical, wet, and dry. I know that pink is tropical, wet, and dry. So I'm going to type here, tropical, wet, and dry. And we said it had a little bit of red. That's tropical wet, easy enough. And then I ran out of bullet points. I'm going to hit enter because there's one more. It says list all that apply. And there's the tiniest little orange one here that tells me here that it's semi-arid. So I'm going to type semi-arid. But I'm also going to put a little note for myself that it's really tiny. And even though it exists, I'm not going to give it too much attention just yet, right? But I do want to note for myself and for Ms. Thompson, because it's a grade, that there is a bit of semi-arid there. And just to help myself out, I'm going to put here that the most is tropical wet and dry, and that there's a little bit that is tropical wet. This just helps me to remember what my focus should be going forward. So the next portion for us is we want to use the website to provide a description of my country's climate. And it asked me for 5 things to tell about my country's climate. Let's do it. So I click the website, and this is a website that we've been to before. We used it the first time when we studied climate zones. So I've seen it before. Now, notice before I said that my country was mostly tropical, wet, and dry. So that's what I'm going to focus on here. If you have a country that's pretty even between 2 different ones, such as there was one country. Hold on. Nope, they all have a most. Never mind. So I'm going to choose tropical, wet, and dry. And this map confirms for me that that's a good choice because look, there goes my country and it shows up on here. So I'm going to read about it. Tropical wet and money focus. Yep. The tropical wet and dry is known for its 2 seasons, wet season and dry season. That's a good bit of information here that I'm going to add. Known for 2 seasons, wet and dry seasons. As I keep thinking, let's see. Tropical wet and dry is found near, I don't need to know where it's located. I already know that. Let's see. What do the seasons have? There are only 2 seasons. Wet season is in the summer. Dry season is in the winter. That's also good information. So I'm going to add that here. Wet season summer, dry season winter. Huh, it's not what I would have guessed. That's interesting. Keep going. Let's see. Usually the dry season is longer. During the dry season, plant life and animal life struggle to deal with the dry conditions. But as the rainy season begins, plants turn green, ponds fill up, and animal life flourishes. This climate is caused by changing winds and current ocean currents. It's a lot of information. I'm going to boil it down to one sentence for me. I said the dry season is longer and plants tend to suffer, but they come back during the wet summer seasons. Let's get into some temperatures. Temperatures are important. So let's see. During the wet season, temperatures average about 77 degrees. During the dry season, which is the winter, we learned earlier, temperatures average about 68 degrees. Man, that sounds way better than Nashville. The temperatures stay high throughout the year because of the latitude where this occurs. Areas near the equator receive constant direct sunlight and therefore heat. The slight difference in temperature is enough to change the wind patterns and keep this area dry for much of the year until the wind shift and the rainy season begins. So I like that first part there where it told me the temperatures and then explained it by because of the equator. So I chose to write this. Near the equator, it stays warmer year round, around 77 average during the wet season and 68 degrees during the dry winters. Now I still need one more piece of information here. Which is perfect for me because I'm going to move into precipitation. I want to know how much it rains. Climate, so this change of precipitation falls during the winter usually from June, July. Got it. It's having the heaviest rain. And the whole dry season usually has less than 4 inches of rain. During the wet season, at least 25 inches will fall, at least. Some areas of tropical wet and dry in the path of monsoon winds can receive incredible amounts of rain. Does my country have monsoons? The map below shows areas will experience monsoons. Oh, see, my country doesn't really get monsoons. So I'm going to skip that part about the monsoons, but how much it rains is interesting to me. And so I want to add that. So I'm going to put my country can receive as little 4 inches of rain during the dry months and up to 25 inches during the wet months. Wait, it wasn't up to 25 inches. It was more than 25 inches. And it wasn't as little as, it was 4 inches or less, right? So I'd written it wrong and now I corrected it. So part 2 for me is done. Part 2 for me is done. Next up is part 4, part 1, part 2, part 4. Feels wrong, but let's go anyway. Alrighty. So part 4 says we need to create a climate map of our country. I can use any colors that I choose, but I need to be sure that I add a key and a legend to make sure that people know what we're looking at. I'm going to close off these because I don't need them anymore. So first I'm going to go to canva.com. Don't mind if I do. Because we know that this is where we do a lot of our digital work to upload and create our maps. So my map, it says here, needs to be a new card. So just like our flag was a card, our map needs to be a card. So I can type in card up here, or I can just scroll and then boom, here's card right here, the 7.7 times 5, which is what I wanted. And here we go. So first thing I want to do is I want to put my map on here. So it tells me upload the outline of your country from the uploads folder. So if I go to uploads, choose upload media, Google Drive, 7th and my name, and then boom, here's the outline of my country right here. If I'm unsure, I can click this and it tells me what its name is. And I know I chose option 3, so I know that's correct. Booyah, country's there. So let's move it around a little bit. Well, focus, Thompson. All right, back to the directions. Use the elements to add your climate to the map. I prefer to use gradients. So do I, Thompson. You can copy, paste, and resize to get them to cover your country. Okay. So I am going to move this just because I can. Booyah. Now, I know that my country's climate looks like this, right? When I zoom in, my country's climate looks like this. A lot of this pink area and a little bit of this red area. I actually don't like the colors pink and red, so I'm going to choose my own. Now, it said to use the elements section, so that's what I'm going to do. If I find something else that works for me, of course I can, but I like using the element section. And I also prefer to use gradients. So if I go down here, I can choose these. I just like them because they're really funky shapes and I like to do weird stuff with the color combinations. Do whatever you want to do, but I'm going to choose this guy here. Oh, that's so big. First thing I'm going to do is change the color. We're going to do tropical wet and dry first. Well, let's do tropical wet first. This tiny little red section. And I don't want it to be red. So I'm going to go here and click these colors. And I want this first color to be purple. And I'm gonna click the second color. I actually want them to both be purple. That's just what I want. I don't know what to tell you. And if I click this, it'll go away. All right. So I'm gonna put it here in that section. Now notice it's too big. So one of the things I can do is I can resize it by making it smaller. And now it fits perfectly in this section. And I'm gonna hit Control C and then Control V to copy and paste it. And I'm gonna put another one right here. Perfect. Now, I think that's the section. Let's go back and double check. Yep, it's this tiny little section down here. So I think I'm done. If I want to, I can copy another one and paste it. And then I can make it even smaller if I want to. And then I can move it into place there. See what I did there? She's a tiny one. Now, if I paste again, it pops up here. Now I can do the tropical wet and dry. The problem is that it's still purple and they're supposed to be different regions. So I can go in here and change the color and I'm gonna go with a gold color because my high school colors are purple and gold. So there you have it. Boom. And I put it into place here and then copy and then paste. So Control C and Control V. Now, because I have much more area to cover here, I could actually just make this bigger, which is what I'm going to do, and then copy and paste it a bunch. So that way I don't have to make a bunch of little tiny ones. Work smarter, not harder, people. And if something doesn't fit exactly, just make it smaller or bigger, depending on what you need. Now, because this is just a rough cut, it doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, you can do whatever makes you happy. I'm doing what makes me happy. As long as I can tell that we got coverage, right? Which means that when I'm looking at your map, I can tell what it looks like and it looks similar to what your country's climate is. You can pick, you don't have to pick the same gradient as me. You can pick a shape. You can pick literally anything you want to put here. I chose this because it looks the most natural to me and it fits my style. But like I said, you are not me. You can do whatever you want to do, right? And what I'm doing here is just pasting over and over again. I'm hitting Control V over and over again to paste so that I get these things where I want it. I want to make this one a little bit smaller so it fits into this tiny little space right here because I'm obsessed. Boom. And I want to copy and paste this into a bunch of tiny little spaces. Copy, paste. There you go. Paste. Paste. This is fun, man. Uh-oh. Didn't move it. Here she goes. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Now, one of the things that I wanna do is now I have to create my key. So I'm gonna copy and paste, bring this over here. And I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so that people can see it. And then I also wanna copy and paste the purple one so that people know. Here, let's make the purple one the same size as the yellow one. There we go. So now I have them here. Now I have to label them so that folks know what they are. So if I go to text, and I like to just choose add a subheading. And then I'm going to type tropical, wet, and dry. And I can drag it over here. Ooh, what if? Oh, no, stop doing that, Thompson. I want to make this a little bit smaller so that it fits. So I'm just going to move it and boom. There you have it. And then I'm going to copy and paste that because this, remember, purple is just tropical wet. So I just go copy and paste it and delete this part here. Now, of course, you can, I'll move it over. There you go. Now you can make this look however you want it to look. So for instance, I can change the color of the letters. You can also change the transparency. You can copy it, position effects, right? I can make it do this, right? I remember earlier I was curving things. You can do whatever you want to here, okay? You can do whatever you want to here. In addition to effects, you can make it all uppercase. Undo. You can also underline it, right? You do whatever you'd like to there. You can bold it, which I'm going to undo. Oh, close effects. There we go. You can also change the text color, so I can make it that yellow. Interesting. Nah, back to black. You can do all those things there. So it's all possible. You can also change the font as well. It's thinking. It's thinking. Didn't like it. Not a fan. Let's go back to the original one. Okay, so now I'm almost done. The last thing I'm missing is a title for my map. All maps have to have a title. So I can choose another thing like add a heading before, or I can get a little creative and go here, ooh, me likey. So I put this wow thing here just because I can. Climate map of Thompslandia. It's way too big. So I'm actually going to go in and change the size to like, I don't know, 30. Oh yeah, that makes way more sense. Also, what? It doesn't think Thompslandia is a word? The disrespect. So, and here's the title of my map. Also, maybe I want to add a background. It's looking real white. The problem is that this has a white border. So whatever background I make has to work with it. Interesting. Interesting. I'm going to go to brick wall because I really like brick walls. Maybe this type of brick wall. Oh yeah, that's the one. Climate map of Thompslandia. Yellow represents tropical wet and dry. Purple represents tropical wet. Notice that I did not include semi-arid, right? It was so minimal. It was so minimal that I chose not to include it. But I did get the two big ones. And that's what's important when I'm looking at these climate maps. That's what I'm looking for, that you got the major climates represented here. So now that I'm done here, it tells me to download the map when finished and upload it to my folder and then add it to Google Classroom. So I'm going to go back home in Canva, not my real home, and tropical wet and dry. Actually, I'm going to change the title of this map to climate map, and then put my name. Climate map, and then my name. Boom, there we have it. Now I'm gonna click this button to download. And remember, I wanna download a PNG, and it'll show up there. Now my computer, I'm using a different computer than you this time around. So if you want to remember how to download using a Chromebook, feel free to go back to the other YouTube videos that from last week that show you how to do that. So now that I have my video downloaded or my picture downloaded, the next step is to actually put it into my folder. So I'm going to drag it in there. Booyah, climate map, Juanita K. And if I click it, it pops up. There's my beautiful climate map of my country. So close. Now, if I go back to Google Classroom, let's see, is this done? I answered everything that was yellow. So I am done with this. And I want to add or create. So I'm going to add from Google Drive. I'm going to add from Google Drive. And boom, here's my climate map under Recents. If it's not under Recents, remember, you can always go to My Drive to find it. Click Insert. Now that it's inserted, I can turn that in. Turn in. And now with it turned in, Ms. Thompson can grade it based on the rubric that we see. And then she'll be able to give me a grade for it. And that is all we are doing today.